Hello, welcome back to Tiny Artist TV. For today's video, we are going to be continuing my series where I'm plowing through these 115 different randomly generated color palettes and creating characters based on those colors. So the last one we did was Victorian Roses, which was number 41. I've already got my number generator pulled up, so let's go ahead and get into it. Today we're going to be looking at 53 Strawberry Ice Cream. Another nice pastel type character, which is a very similar color palette to the last character that I got caught up on, so hopefully this one doesn't snag me. I do remember saying a few videos back that once I hit 10, and ironically I believe it actually was number 7, the one that I had trouble with, where once I hit 10, I was going to try to do sort of groupings of characters. And if I'm gonna do that, I think I want to start with doing some magical girls, because this color palette was already kind of lending itself towards that. So the next 10, I will be trying to create Mahou Shoujo type characters from color palettes 11 through 20. So let's get into it. My big idea behind this particular grouping of characters is that each character is going to be inspired by or based on a particular genre of fashion. I haven't really fabricated, no pun intended, a big story behind why these particular magical girls and villains are based on particular styles of clothing. I just thought that the color palettes that I ended up with worked best with different fashion styles. So for the first one is kind of like a Lolita style deco. If you're familiar with, like, you know, those phone cases that have like all those cute like fake candy and like whipped cream and all of that stuff. Well, considering that this color palette is named Strawberry Ice Cream, this was a pretty easy character for me to design, basically just making her whole outfit look like, you know, drippy, melty ice cream, and there's sprinkles everywhere, and it's just like cute, candy, fun. And then she has this giant bazooka, or I like to call it her funfetti blaster, and it is powered by friendship and love and shoots sprinkles. It's a giant sprinkle cannon. And so tactically it does not have to make sense, and so I avoided having to look up bazooka references because my search history is already interesting enough. So I just kind of went by magical girl rules as far as her weapon of choice, because typically they hold like wands or brooches or something associated with some sort of like makeup or fashion. So for this one, I still went with the traditional like big poofy skirt, the super fun boots, the crazy hair, but instead of a magic wand, she has, I guess it's kind of like a giant, in some universes this could be considered a giant magic wand. It's just a different kind of magic. So as you can see here, as I'm finishing up the lines, this is basically my Strawberry Ice Cream girl. And as far as the motifs, I give her a little cowbell to kind of, I leaned a little more into kind of like a Dairy Maid magical girl styling with like the pigtails, and I give her some little like farm girl sprinkle freckles. So that's pretty much like the thought process behind this. Again, having this color palette and the name behind it. So here's the thing. I pick the names for these color palettes. When I'm generating them in my palettes app, I pick the names for them because they inspire me, like they remind me of a certain thing. And so this particular design is less, like a lot of the designs that I've been doing are more on the abstract or idea side of what the color palette could represent. These ones are going to be very heavily inspired by the color palette names. Thinking specifically of not only this one, but there's another one coming up. It's going to be weird and wild and fun. And my characters tend to kind of lean towards that side anyway. This series is just allowing me to really like create characters that I wouldn't normally have an excuse to create without the pressure of having to be consistent. Most of the time when I'm creating a character, it's for a long-term project, which means that I'm not adding a bunch of bells and whistles that are going to be tedious, or things that I'm not going to want to draw over and over again. With these characters being one-offs, I can just kind of open the can and just let it all spill out, and it's just been a really cathartic experience drawing-wise. Because as much as I love my long-term projects, sometimes I just need a break to do something like this. So, yeah. For those of you who may be wondering how I did the sprinkles without having a sprinkle brush, which of course there are sprinkle brushes, especially for Clip. For Clip Studio, there's a feature that you can click on in the layers, and you can kind of see it on my screen here. That first circle is outline. So if you click on that, anything you draw on that later becomes outline in whatever color you pick. So I picked pink, and then my brush, I just picked colored brushes and just drew, and that created my sprinkles. Maybe one day I'll make a little 5-minute tutorial to kind of, really show you guys. But for now, we're at the end of today's first magical girl, Miss Strawberry Ice Cream. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a weird day.